Hi, I'm Trisha at Club Scrap. Welcome to the Stained Glass Card Kit Workshop. I am so glad you made it here, and this is our plan. We're first going to sort everything that came in the kit into the order we'll be using it. Then we will trim all of the papers required to make a dozen cards. We'll score our card bases and then assemble a sample of each. It's really that simple. Let's get started. I'm going to start out with my accordion pocket file, and I'll just place the lip of this under my trimmer base so that I can stay organized. We'll be filing all of our pieces into one of 4 pockets, A, B, and C for the 3 different card styles, and then the D pocket is for any scraps we have left that we may or may not want to save. Now, if you don't have that accordion pocket file, it's okay. Don't let it stop you from moving to the next step. Just simply maintain 4 separate piles. I've got my instructions here. I like to keep these on my right. You don't even need to print them if you don't want to. I'll set the goodies aside. I'm going to keep those envelopes kind of handy. And then here are my papers. Let's get these sorted. We're going to start out with a sheet of the yellow, basically 1 sheet of each color, then the blue, then a piece of the black, and that gorgeous, stunning red. Let's repeat that. We're going to go yellow again, blue, black, red, and then the 2 prints. So I'll put the prints face down on my trimmer here. And next we'll take the cut apart that has the 3 larger sentiments on the left edge, followed by the one that has the polka dots going all down that right edge here on this one. I'll put those face down and then flip that whole stack right on over to get us back to the yellow where we began. And we're going to be trimming 4 pieces of paper the same way. So I'll take the yellow and I'm going to find the grain direction of this paper. Now, if I hold it by this edge, you can see how it flops more easily. And if I hold it by this edge, you see how much more stiff it is. So if I hold it this way, it's quiet when I bend it, and this way, it's noisy. And if I put it in my trimmer and I can bend it this way, that's how I want it going into the trimmer. So the instructions also indicate the same with that arrow that points from the top to bottom. That means I want the paper to bend easily from top to bottom. Now, if you're just starting out and only want to trim 1 sheet of paper at a time, that's cool. Go ahead and do it with just the yellow, but I'm going to go ahead and add the blue to this as well, checking the grain direction. Again, putting it in place the same way, stack them neatly together. And if you only are trimming 1 at a time, simply rewind back to the start of this segment and we can trim the blue one. Our first cut here is going to be at 11 3/4. So a quick review, make sure the paper is flush at the top here of that ridge if you're using this type of trimmer. 11 3/4, make sure you're looking at the inches and not the centimeters. And then scoot left 3 columns on the trimmer, 1, 2, 3, toward the 12 to get 11 3/4. Stabilize every time you trim by pushing on this bar so that the paper doesn't shimmy when the blade comes down, and then slide this down to the number 7. Rotate the 7-inch piece so it's horizontal and trim at 10. You just made that card base for that big 5x7 card we're going to make later. So set this piece aside to be scored, and then a small rectangle fell from the end. Let's trim this at 5 3/4. 5 3/4. And place this in pocket B, bravo. And there's a small rectangle that fell from the end. This is a scrap I'm going to pop into pocket D in case I decide to use it later on. And then I'll take this other larger remaining piece. And that's always going to be both pieces that of the pair that we're trimming. So we're going to start at 9 here, and then 6 1/4, 3 1/4. Rotate this 3 1/4 inch piece and cut it at 4 1/2, and place this in pocket A, alpha. You had some little tiny scraps that fell. Then the next pair of pieces will also need to be trimmed at 4 1/2. You're just taking off a tiny amount. And this goes in pocket B, bravo. And then we have another pair of pieces. This is like a skinny rectangle. We're going to trim this one at 4 1/4. That'll go into pocket B, and then our very last rectangle, C, Charlie. The rest of these pieces are all just little scraps, not even worth putting in my little pocket. And I just want to mention, if I'm going too fast, you can go ahead and adjust your playback speed on YouTube to 0.75 to slow me down. I'm going to grab the black here, and again, making sure that the grain of the paper dips most easily from the bottom of the trimmer to the top. And then we have this beautiful red. This is very heavy. If I push in on it, I can feel less resistance when I go this way versus this way. It really pushes back. This has an incredible stipple texture on both sides. This is really special paper. I'm going to trim both of these the same exact way. So we start out at 11 3/4 and then 7. You'll rotate that 7 by 12 and trim it at 10. Set this aside to be scored, and then gather the 2 smaller pieces and trim at 5 3/4, placing these in pocket B, bravo. 2 little tiny squares left over. If you want to save them, they can go in D. And then grab this larger pair of strips here. We'll cut at 9. And remember, this has all kinds of funky rotations, so make sure you don't move any of the pieces as they fall. So 9, 6 1/4, 3 1/4, rotate, trim at 4 1/2, and pocket A. The next pair of pieces, we're also going to trim at 4 1/2. That's going to go in B, bravo. The next pair, this little thin rectangle, trim at 4 1/4. Pocket B, bravo. And the very last piece just directly into pocket C, Charlie. Okay, we have some scraps to set aside, all those little thin sniglets, as I like to call them. And let's go move on to basically step 2. We have to repeat this for 4 sheets of paper. The first sheet will go in bending easily top to bottom. And then we have this blue sheet also bending from the top to the bottom of the trimmer. It's totally fine if you want to work 1 sheet at a time until you really get the hang of this. We're going to cut at 9 3/4, so that's 9, 1, 2, 3 columns to the left. 9 3/4, then 7 1/2, 4 1/4, then rotate this piece so it's horizontal and trim at 11. This will become a card base, so set it aside to be scored, and then pop these little guys in D if you like. The next piece we're going to trim at 10. And place this in the scoring pile, and these little pieces that fell, pocket A. The next strip, this is 2 1/4 by 12. Both of them are actually, both pieces that we trimmed. This one's going to get scored, believe it or not. And the last one, we're going to cut it at 6 3/4. 6 3/4. All right. Pocket C for this guy, Charlie, and then pocket A for the other one, the shorter one. Let's repeat that with the black and the red. The red, remember, you can check it by pushing in. The paper will always tell you. So we're going to stack those neatly, and once again cut at 9 3/4. 7 1/2, and 4 1/4. Rotate the 4 1/4 and trim at 11. Set this aside to be scored, and you created 2 little scraps. Grab the next strips. We'll cut at 10. This gets scored. The scrap that fell, pocket A. The next piece, just set it aside to be scored, and the very last strip we'll cut at 6 3/4. Pocket C on this longer one, and pocket A on the shorter one. And now we've arrived at our print. Doesn't really matter how you put this in the trimmer. It's just beautiful in any direction. We'll cut it 6 3/4 and then rotate it. Cut at 11 1/4, 9, 6 3/4, 4 1/2, 2 1/4. Now that should give you a whole series of pieces that are the same size, and then one little sniglet that's a scrap. So all of these larger ones go in pocket C, and then the skinny guy is a scrap. You can put it in D or just with your other little pieces. And then I'm going to take the remaining strip. This is 5 1/4 by 12 right now, and we'll cut it at 8 and 4. Gather up the 3 pieces and place them in pocket A, grabbing your next print, and we're moving on to page 2 of our instructions. We'll trim this one at 9 3/4 and 5 1/2. Now rotate this piece in the base. We'll cut at 11, 9 1/4, 7 1/2, 5 3/4, and 4. Rotate the piece that's in the trimmer right now so it's horizontal and cut it at 5 1/4. And that goes in pocket A with its other friends. There's a little scrap that fell. And then there's going to be a series of pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, that are the same going into pocket B, bravo. And there will also be a little skinny scrap. Now we have this piece that measures 4 1/4 by 12. We're going to cut it at 9, 6, and 3. And pop all of this into pocket A, alpha. Then the last little strip here we'll cut at 9, 6, and 3. Again, same measurements, different width of paper. And this will go into pocket C, Charlie. Next up, we have our Cutaparts. And for these, we do need to take off the area of the paper that says remove paper outside of corner cutting guides. If you know what you're doing, go ahead and get started. I'm looking for that little hash mark on each edge. Now the first edge that I cut, you have to do this all the way around. The first edge I cut, I typically cut shy of the mark because I really can't see the bottom corner of my trimmer base and where that line meets with the blade. And then when I rotate, now I should be able to have a better look at this. And yes, I can see just the tip of my blade down here and the edge of it up here. So I can give that a nice cut. And there's nothing wrong with going back and cleaning it up later. And then this one, I'm going to get that all lined up nicely. Rotating again. And this time, if I did a good job here, I can look at my 12 because my goal is to make a 12 by 12. Sure enough, that's looking pretty good. And then one final cleanup cut here where I originally started. Get that down to a 12. And then you got these little tiny strips. You can just throw those away. To begin, let's position this so that it says happy birthday up here on the right. And if we put this in the trimmer at 9 3/4, it's going to go right between all the pieces of art. And then 5 1/4. Rotate the piece in the trimmer and trim at 8 and 4. And that gives us 3 innies for card set A. And then you have another strip here. There's a narrow piece on the end that's designed there to be a scrap, actually. We'll cut at 11, 8 1/4, 5 1/2, and 2 3/4. All 4 of these pieces go in pocket C, Charlie. And there's that little scrap that we don't need. Finally, this last strip, you've done these numbers before. We'll go at 9, 6, and 3. And all 4 of these end up in pocket C for Charlie. Now we need to remove the ends once again from this sheet, and I'll do that little cut kind of at the beginning and then rotate so I can align the lines. And I think if you didn't have the Cutapart in hand, you may not know what I'm talking about. But if you have the Cutapart in your hot little hands right now and you're just joining me, it will make perfect sense. So if you're just watching this out of curiosity and you don't have a membership at Club Scrap, you don't need a membership to try one of our kits and give this a whirl. Make your cards with me. I would absolutely love that. Okay, before we separate this into the individual pieces of art, just watch for that complete strip of dots. That should be on our right, and we're going to cut that at 11.5. Then 9 3/4 and 5 3/4. All right, rotate this one. We'll cut at 10, 8, 6, 4, and then rotate counterclockwise there so we can cut at 5 1/4 and take off that little dotty scrap. Now that goes in pocket A with some friends. Then this little piece is a scrap. You can use that if you wish. And then these tall, skinny pieces, they all go in B. Bravo. Now we have this strip here. We need to take the scrap off the end, the one that doesn't have any text. We'll trim at 10, 7.5, 5, 2.5. And gather the pieces that are all the same size for pocket B. And then you did have this cute little scrap. I didn't use it. And then we have one more strip of sentiments here. We'll cut at 9, 6, and 3. Gather these up and place them in pocket A. That leaves this strip with the dots. Didn't use it, so you can set that aside. And that does conclude the trimming portion. At this point, I usually lock my trimmer blade and then I hang on to my accordion pocket file, especially if it's kind of sitting at the edge of your table. You would hate to have that fall down. From now on, I'm going to keep this on its back while I load it with all of my scored card bases. So grab your Scor Pal and let's score those cards. So here's that pile that we were left with that I didn't have you file. And I'm basically just going to work backwards now from where we ended with the trimming. We're going to start with the scoring, and that gives us this long and narrow strip here that I'm going to score now horizontally at 6 inches. I've got this cool little comfort grip ball tip stylus that I use. We actually have these now, so I'm going to pop a link in the description for this guy. I really like it. I'll grab the next sheet and again score at 6. And digging down into my stack just a little, I'm going to find another one that's this same size that I can score at 6. And then one more in the yellow to score at 6. And pop all of these into pocket B. Now pocket B isn't going to be wide enough for you to shove this down in there, so just, put them at an angle. Okay. Then we have this other strip here. This is, right now it's 3 1/4 by 10. Make sure it's in there horizontally so it reads 10 here. And let's score it at 5. And then I'm going to flip the paper by bringing the bottom edge up to the top edge and score at 7.5. I'm going to grab another piece of that size with the same dimension. So 5, flip the paper from the bottom to the top, 7.5. Dig down a little bit so you can find the other two in the blue, score at 5, flip the paper from the bottom to the top, and score at 7.5. And once more with the yellow of the same size. So 5, flip, 7.5. All of these pieces go into pocket C. And then we have a series that are 11 by 4 1/4. We'll score these at 5.5. There should be 4 of them, scoring at 5.5. one in each of the 4 primary colors of the collection, which I absolutely love. These go into pocket A, all 4 of them. And then I'm going to grab my final size here, score this one at 5. It should be 10 by 7, by the way, on the horizontal. Flip bottom to top and score at 7.5. That should be very familiar to you. So 5, and then flip bottom to top, 7.5. 5, flip, 7.5. And one last time, 5, flip, 7.5. Very good. You're done with your Scor Pal. Pop those scored card bases into pocket C, and let's get started with our first card set by emptying pocket A. Now it's very helpful if when the pocket is empty, and just double check to make sure it is empty, and then sort out the pieces that you created by size. That way, as I'm calling out, large, small, medium, and so on, or print, or plain, you can easily glance at what you've got and recognize that there are different sizes of things here. And then you have your scored card base. Grab your bone folder if you have one, and then search for and identify the bump of the score line on your card base. It's the bump that goes on the inside of the card, and then burnish it with your bone folder. A lot of people in my classes are just learning that little tip for the very first time, that the bump of the score line is what goes on the inside of the fold. That's the proper way to make your card. Bury the bump is what I always say. All right, so then let's arrange these on our work surface. We'll put red and then black. Yellow will be horizontal and blue will be horizontal. Then I will take all my sorted pieces, and let's just go ahead and add the beautiful stained glass print to that. And then we're going to rotate in some color by adding one of these strips. So I'll put the blue strip here on the red card, the red strip on the black card, the black strip on the yellow card, and the yellow strip on the blue card, just kind of to sort out those colors. And then we're going to add another colored panel. So for this one, let's incorporate the yellow. And here, how about some blue and red and black? Then we're going to deal out another print and another colored panel. Boy, we have a lot going on here. So this is the 4th color, the black. What's missing? Yellow. Missing from this one is the blue and red. Sentiments are going to be obvious. Happy birthday, happy birthday. How about a thank you over here and for my friend? For the inside of the cards, we need the vertical sentiments. You are such a beautiful person, inside and out. I love that. And then for the thank you, we'll add, if you think my hands are full, you should see my heart. And for my friend, out of the million ways my life could have gone, I'm glad it went the way that brought me to you. Let's take the envelopes now that you were given, and I'm going to find the set of the 4 smallest envelopes, and I'm just going to slide in this card, materials. That would be, in my mind, card number 4. Card number 3. And notice that I put it in vertically so I don't have to mess around with it too much. Card number 2, and let's make card number 1 together. This is so nice and easy. I'm going to begin by just taking my favorite adhesive. I'll add a little to the text weight print here and nest it centered onto my folded card base. And then for this one, I'm going to be adding some of these thin line dazzles. So basically, I like to use tweezers. I'm going to choose a strip that's kind of, they're pretty thin, but they're just so cool. And I'm going to add this pretty close to the edge here. And then I'm going to grab one that's even thinner, because these are thin lines, okay? And again, a tweezers makes this so much easier. Just to grab one of these really, really, really skinny strips. One thing about dazzles is they look much cooler in use than they do on the sheet. And I'm just going to pick this up and wrap those dazzle thin line ends around to the back. Then, while I've got it, I'll add some adhesive. And with those 2 dazzle strips on the edge, I'm going to take my grid ruler and just maybe 1/8 of an inch or 1 cube from the edge of that print, I'm going to add the strip that has the dazzle on the left edge. Next up, I'll take the happy birthday and nest this onto the black panel that corresponds with the size. And we're going to do the twist. Do with a twist. I won't sing that for you. For the twist, I like it because it doesn't make a huge knot or anything. I'm just going to cut a piece of this silk ribbon in a strip, and then I usually keep my tape in a dispenser that I can easily grab. And I'm just going to add this to the open section there and tape one of the ends around to the back. Then I'm going to get my other piece of tape ready. And I'm going to do the twist. So I'm just going to give that a twist, just like that. So it looks like a bow, but it has no knot. It just has a twist. Do you love it or do you love it? I love it. Okay, then I'm going to add this little twisty thing to the upper right corner of my stained glass, just kind of allowing the same reveal on the right as I did on the top. Flip that, add adhesive to this yellow, and then add to the yellow. And I'll place this, it won't be centered, but I'm going to go kind of the same distance top to bottom and then just nice on the right so it looks good. Very happy with that. Oh, happy birthday. I'm going to open my card and get my adhesive one last time and add the inner sentiment nice and big. Happy birthday. Isn't that gorgeous with the little twist? How easy is that? So basically, the remaining cards in the set include, well, that's the one we made together. That's my sample. And then here we have the next one. You can see it's constructed the same way with the twist, right? And then on the other one, I did it in a horizontal fashion. Instead of the twist, I used my slot punch to add a little hole for the tag. And here is that slot punch. You just want to make sure that you have this nested before you add the slot, because if you punch the tag first and not through the second layer, the holes won't line up. You know what I'm saying? Or you can just have it going through the tag and not through the blue. Totally your call. That's what I did in this case, but everything's just simply sideways, and I added the dazzles. When there's a black strip, I added the black dazzle to the print here, so just kind of pay attention to that. I love that one. And then this one I was able to add the dazzle to the yellow strip. So that is set A, super easy. Go ahead and empty pocket B and then sort all the pieces in order by size. Let's begin with these long pieces and just go ahead and fold them before we do the deal. And that way we don't have these long unruly pieces that we're trying to figure out. And these are going to actually make our, what I would call an A6 card, a card that fits into an A6 envelope. The official dimensions of an A6 card are 4.5 by 6 1/4, but these are just going to be 1/4 of an inch short. That's okay. They're still going to work great. We'll start out with the blue and then our red card base, the black, and the yellow. Why don't we just put the inner sentiment on top here. The happy birthday will be our first and second cards. And then how blessed I am to know you and be your friend. And that will be the first and, or the third and fourth card bases. Now we're going to distribute a color. How about yellow here, blue, red, and black. And then a beautiful printed panel. Next, there are a total of 8 colored panels. 4 are larger, 4 are smaller. So let's add the black panel here. I'm just going to do it vertically so it fits. Then yellow, blue, and red. And our missing color on this one is red. What's missing here? Black. Yellow is missing here. Blue here. Then how wonderful life is when you're in the world. Both of the ones on the left. And then some people create so much light that all around them glow. Grab your medium-sized envelopes. Card number 4. Card number 3. I do it so that it's like right on top, right? Card number 2 will be on top. And then card 1 is ready to assemble. This is incredibly simple and you're gonna love it. So I'm gonna open it up. Let's finish attaching the inner sentiment here. And sometimes, you know, if you want, you can of course assemble all of your cards at the same time, all 4 cards in this series. I'll take my printed paper and nest it onto the coverweight panel. So one of the things that a lot of people have been telling me, because I was just at a live event, that they like to prep their kits this far, and then when they go to a crop or an event with their friends, they have the rest of the card set aside, they have their sample, and then they can just enjoy time with their friends and putting everything together. Now, if you have the patience, and it doesn't take a whole lot, you can select a strip. I'm gonna go with this one that looks kind of like it has beads on it. Grabbed it with my tweezers, and I'm gonna isolate this panel here and go ahead and add this beaded dazzle line to the sentiment. With scissors, I'll cut right when it reaches the end of the frame. So the frame is kind of printed there and acts as a guide. And then I'll just pick up where I left off, add it to this trim. That leaves this little piece that should be big enough for the other side. Oh, and it was perfect. Okay, so then I'll take the next same, you got to look for the same art, right? You don't want to just do a partial. And then I'm gonna finish that bad boy down over here. Stretch it. Oh, and it just adds so much. These are so elegant. I love it. All right, I'm gonna replace this on my sheet. If I was continuing on, I'd probably go ahead and grab my other sentiment and finish putting the rest of it on it. But I love the one that has the little bead. It just looks so good. So you can get a close-up on that, and it just adds a little bit of dimension. You can feel it. It's a raised thing, so it's not like, oh, you could have just printed that on there. We could have, but it wouldn't have looked as cool. Then I'll add, if you wanted to add a twist of ribbon at this point, you certainly could. I decided to refrain from adding the ribbon just because I didn't want to make the card front heavy, since it's going to be on that narrow strip. Okay, so this is my card base, basically. It's like a little teepee. And I'm going to grab my grid ruler, and if I'm looking for, I want it centered top to bottom, centered left to right. So if I go 1.5 inches up from the bottom edge of this card, that's here, and then centered left to right puts me at 1 1/8. Okay, that's my reading here and here if my 0 is in the center. Got to be careful to only add adhesive through also the center of the card. If you wanted to, you could place it on top just to be sure. Flip it back over, and then looks like my measurement here is going to be 2 1/4. Makes it so it's centered from left to right, centered from top to bottom, and fabuloso. It stands up on its own. I love it. This is such a fun little easy structure, and we were able to accomplish so much with so little paper, right? 12 cards from just trimming 8 pieces the same way, plus the Cutaparts and prints. Okay, that was the one we did together. Which one is that? The blue one we made. So that's that one. Oh, I used a different style dazzle. It looks a little more bold. Here I used the Dotty Dazzle. This has kind of like a little scallop edge. So pretty. And then here we have the Dotty Dazzle again. Beautiful colors, right? Okay, so this is the one we made together. It's my sample. So I'll put it with my other cards and the envelopes ready to go. And I'll empty pocket C. Go ahead and sort everything by size. We're moving right along here. Let's follow the direction now of these card bases with their score lines. So here there's a bump that basically takes me in the center to fold this card in half. Once that's done, I find another bump here, which indicates I should fold that to bury it, which is basically folding the first half in half again. So I'll do the same on the blue, bury that bump, and then bury this bump. So I really like to use my score lines. Do you remember when we were scoring this and I had you flip the paper from bottom to top and score again? That's what creates the bumps on the correct side. And if we have the bumps on the correct side, when I'm guiding you to do the folding, it just kind of leads the way. So we made a mountain, and then this is a valley. Mountain fold, valley fold. Okay, we won't do our folding on this, but these all require the same attention. And the first card in the deal is going to be the yellow for our purposes. And in the instructions, this is the card that's shown first. So I was just going to go by what the instructions share. Then I'll go with the red, the black, and the blue. Each of these is going to get one of these strips. So I'll distribute that next. Red, blue, and you can do whatever color you want, yellow, and black. Each one will get a print. So print, 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 print. There will be an extra print, and I want you to add that to the red card base, okay? So that gets 2 prints. Next, we'll distribute our color. So blue, black, red, and yellow. Then a colored panel, probably the missing color. What's missing? Black, yellow is missing here, blue, and red. We need a sentiment. Whatever good things you wish for on these two. And love's light never fades, it shines on in our hearts. That'll be for 3 and 4. Next, give each one a printed panel. And then we'll do a happy birthday, may cherished memories bring moments of comfort on those two. You've been given a series of really beautiful laser cuts. Put one on each card. Grab your envelopes. This should be the only size you have left. Card number 4. The black card base is going to be card number 3. One more envelope for card number 2. And I have to remember to explain why that one got 2 prints. And then card number 1 we will make together. This is so much fun. Okay. Go ahead and add this beautiful printed panel to the card base flap. So if you have your back of your card is the 5-inch section, then you have this little fold here, and then this is the front flap of your card. So add it to the front flap, centered left, right, bottom, top, like so. Next up, I'm going to have you center the other panel onto the right side of the card while it's closed. It should fit right in there so that it looks lovely, right? Grab your trimmer for just a moment, and we want to actually remove a little nub off the end of your laser cut on this side, and then rotate it so that you're trimming at 6 3/4 on the other side. 6 3/4 is our goal for the little piece. So if you wanted to, you could do all of those at once. And then we're going to add this. Oh, that is so pretty. Add it to the strip. Now, to me, the best thing to use is going to be our bookbinding glue. Just dispense it along the outer edges. It doesn't take a lot, really, right? Just a thin, I mean, it's all about thin, I guess, this month. The thin dazzles, thin lines, and this thin little glue application we're doing. So I will center this left to right on my panel. It's the same length as the panel. I experimented with that a little bit, by the way, and this is where I ended up, and I love how it looks. Then we have this other strip that has a score line too, and basically the same thing is going to happen just on a smaller scale. So bury the bump that's in the middle, and basically that means you're folding it in half, and then folding one of those halves in half again by burying the bump. Now position this so that there's this large scored area on your left, and then you have two narrow ones on the right. It's basically the opposite of kind of how you did this piece. And then I want you to take the sentiment panel and nest it onto the black panel in this case. We're going to do another cute little ribbon trick here, nice and easy. I'm going to measure off a length of ribbon that's a little bit wider than the height of this piece, and I'll dispense some tape, and I think we'll go right about here with it. Bring it around to the back. It looks like only one piece of tape is needed. And then I'm going to take the jute that I have, and I'm going to go underneath the stretched red ribbon. And you can choose if you want to do a bow or not. Like, some people don't like making bows at all. Usually, if I'm going to make a bow, I make a big bow, and then I just keep shrinking the loops of the bow till I'm happy. So I'm allowing plenty of jute so that I can make a bow. Like I tie my shoes, same way. And then just keep pulling the tails till you're happy with the size of the loops. That's all. You can keep going smaller and smaller and smaller. So don't think you have to tie a small bow to start with. You can just, you can shrink it to the size you want. Isn't that a great way to add ribbon to a card without a lot of dimension? Then I will add this to the large area, making sure that it trails off to the right. Then I'm going to add the adhesive to the remaining two pieces. So that'll be the center here with the pattern. And then the right side will be the happy birthday. Okay. Close this. It's going to end up here. I debated whether I should have it up or down or centered. And I even went over to Karen's desk and I said, Karen, centered, top, what do you think? And she said centered because it allows this to be more symmetrical. And then I agreed. I'm like, thank you for noticing that. So if I take my ruler and I align it on the left edge of my card that's flattened or closed, and then I'm just going to assess what's my measurement here with this. Looks like it's going to be 1 5/8, puts me at the center. That's here and down here. So I know I'm shooting for 1 5/8. Now, where does the adhesive go? Well, flip this over, and the adhesive goes on all visible areas. So I'm going to put 4 little stripes of adhesive, making sure no adhesive gets in this area. So close it, and there we have 4 stripes of adhesive. I'll recenter, so my reading at the top of the card and the bottom is 3.5. And I think I said 1 5/8. Yes, 1 5/8. Stick her down. Boom, you got the most adorable little double Z fold card ever. Stands up beautifully, plenty of room to write in there. And let me show you the remaining structures here. This is the blue card base, and notice I stretched the ribbon the long way and tied it with the jute. Here I stretched the blue ribbon and tied it with jute. It was so cute. This is the one we made together. And then this final one is when the second card you'll make. Notice that the laser cut is black and the panel is black. So if I would have put if I didn't plan more print for this, it would be black on black and it wouldn't look so hot. But when I add the colored print in the background, that is so, so beautiful, isn't it? So just add that extra panel behind the laser cut there. Oh, it's gonna look so pretty. I had some nice easy card structures for you, even though they weren't traditional single fold cards necessarily, at least 8 of them. I think those structures are still really simple, fun to put together, and you'll definitely amaze your friends. So don't forget to send these cards to your pals. They're ready to go with the envelope that will fit perfectly. Don't forget the stamp goes on the upper right corner, your return address on the left, and your name in the middle, because some of you haven't sent a card in a long, long while. So I hope you will do that and just spread joy and love and caring to those around you. Now, if you do like this stained glass kit, go ahead and pick up the page kit as well. It is so beautiful, and you can make books, you can make 12 by 12 pages with it. All kinds of fun projects are available to you at clubscrap.com. And if you haven't left me already, you're still here, go ahead and make sure you are subscribed to our channel by hitting that subscribe button. I love to hear from you. Leave me a comment if you enjoyed this workshop, and I look forward to seeing you in another Club Scrap workshop again soon. I'll meet you in class.